knew it. Thank you all for coming tonight. It was a good season this year. There were times when I didn't think it was a good season, but I had a really great assistant coach this year who kept me grounded. When I wasn't grounding her. What's that?
I kept reminding you how young they are.
Yes, absolutely.
They're coming along.
I sometimes get overcritical, and Mrs. Gone, you kind of reminded me that they're young, they're kids, and, chill, relax. She put it in different terms than that sometimes. Anyway, we'll do the boys first, for good reason. I will tell you this year that the girls really did outshine the boys this year. I don't think I'm telling the boys anything they don't know, and I don't think, considering what the boys were up against all season, that's just the way it is sometimes. We only had 6. Quickly, for some of you that may not understand how an individual sport is played in a team concept, there are 5 points available in each match. 3 singles points and 1 point for each doubles match. We play 3 singles matches and 2 doubles matches. We need 7 players to have a full match. We had 6 boys this year. So MPA rules don't allow us to set that up any which way we want. We basically have to play 3 singles matches and 1 doubles match, which is 5 players. So unfortunately, when we played that format, there was always one boy that had to sit. So not only do you have the disruption that goes from not having enough players, you have that disruption where you're trying to get the kids who want to be a part of playing, but because of MPA rules, we have to do things, in a certain order. So, of those 5 match points that we compete with each match, we immediately had to forfeit 1. So every match we played, we were always down 1-0 from the get-go. So it made the boys' matches a little tougher. This group of boys did a nice job this year, regardless of what we were up against. My doubles team, Gabe, is it Benson or something like that, right? And where's your partner? He's getting his wisdom teeth pulled.
Oh, wow.
Gabe and Ethan Sennett. In fairness to them, they're a really good doubles team as a second doubles team, right? But they had to play first doubles all the time.
First singles.
It's Gabe's first year playing tennis, and it's Ethan's, just his second year, right? Yeah. So 2 really inexperienced kids always having to play that first doubles position, and that's tough. They did a great job no matter who they played, and as the season went on, they became better and better as a doubles team. Gabe did something that I love to see players do, whether you're playing singles or doubles, and that is be really aggressive at the net. And he learned a lot from that. He can't do anything else, but he's good. He does. His game came a long way this year. He did a great job. But being aggressive at the net helped them win some matches, some points, some games that they may not have won. They did a really good job in that respect. As a result of that, Gabe is the Rookie of the Year. couple would be missing. Anyway. Also on the boys' side, Tyrone Davis, is it Tyrone or Travis? Oh, I keep getting it mixed up. I wasn't so bad this year.
That's all right. Yeah.
Last year I called him anything but Tyrone. Anything that started with a T. But it was, I think I did better this year. Tyrone played number 1 singles. That is a tough spot to play. You are always playing the other team's very best player, whether it's a freshman or a senior. Tyrone, as a sophomore, has done a great job in that number 1 position. Last year he played number 3, and he basically mowed down his competition. I think you only lost 1 match last season, right? Yeah. And I said, look, and if you haven't noticed, Tyrone is a very confident athlete, okay? Which is good. You need that, particularly in an event where you're out there by yourself. And Tyrone does a really good job in terms of his own confidence. A little bit of cockiness goes a long way, and I'm saying that as a compliment. There were times when I had to tell him, no, that's too much. But he did fine. But I said at the beginning of the season, I said, Tyrone, you're going from number 3 singles to number 1 singles. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I got it. I know. Yeah, no problem. Well, we found out there were some problems. Not from his lack of effort, not from the quality and the level of his game, but he was playing some really very good tennis players. Some players that had been there for 4 years, and this was Tyrone's second. He made it to, in the singles tournament, he made it to the bracket final, which is a very good indicator of the level of your game. If you win that, you move on to what's called the round of 48 for the state singles championship, and that is tough to do. And actually, I think last year you were in your bracket final too. So we're going to break through that next year. The singles tournament is a little different concept than what we see the rest of the season. It's a chance for individual players to go and show their talents on a statewide basis. And Tyrone is on the edge of breaking through there, and he did a great job this year. He also was recognized as third team all-conference, and that is a huge accomplishment considering what was out there for singles talent this year, and that's great. This is the Scott Valley Conference third team singles. This one is, just another one of your certificates for quality play, and this one, of course, is the most valuable player.
All right.
That is great. Thank you, Tyrone. I really wish that my redheaded wonder was here. Dustin Hilliker did a tremendous job this year. Last year as a freshman, he had never played the game at all. And this year, and he played a lot of doubles last year, played a couple of singles matches. But this year I said, I need you to play singles. And he's like, yikes, what do I do? I said, well, we'll work it. He ended up, at the end of the season, playing number 2 singles. Did a really good job. Again, kind of like the doubles team, because we're short-handed, you kind of get pushed into the upper part of the ladder where maybe you're not quite ready for it, but sometimes trial by fire is what brings out the best in you. And Dustin did a tremendous job this year. He had some good matches with Tyrone when they played during practices, and he's my most improved on the boys' side, and he did a great job. I wish he was here because I could give him more grief, but I won't do that. Ethan Sennett got recognized as Bromscott Valley All-Academic as well. And Colby Now to the girls. What was that?
Said thank you.
As Mr. Montgomery said, a really young team, and not just young, but a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of improvement from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. We have one junior from Stearns who we thought was a senior, but Mr. Montgomery and I, when we were doing senior day, I texted Abby and said, I need to make sure you and your parents are here a few minutes ahead of time because we're doing senior day. And she texted back and said, well, it's great, Mr. Nick, but I'm not a senior. I immediately texted back and said, Mr. Montgomery got that all messed up. But it's, so I have you for another year, and I'm looking forward to that. Abby hurt her ankle partway through the season, not due to tennis, but due to dance. And I warned her about playing sports like dance. So that took her out of a couple of matches for us and hurt us a little bit, but her play, her willingness to play, her competitiveness was a good example for all of the other team players. And I always knew that if I asked something of Abby McNally, it would get done. And it would get done with a smile, and it would get done to the best of her ability. And I won't have to say I'm going to miss her next year because she'll be back. So Abby McNally, thank you. Well, let's do another Abby. It got a little confusing out on the tennis court. I had 3 Abbies. Actually, I had 4. One of them's named Sheree, but looks like an Abby. So it really, you know, the number of times I said Sheree and she went, I'm Abby, and I know that. Or the number of times I went Abby and she said, I'm Sheree. We stopped counting that many times. But the other Abby, Abby Kelly, one of our freshmen, did a great job this year. Started out not knowing what to do, but ended up doing a great job. Abby Kelly. A lot of kids come to tennis or, you know, a lot of other sports, and they say, I've never played. Well, as a coach, you kind of go, because it takes a lot of time to bring them up to speed. But the other thing is, they haven't learned any bad habits. You can teach them the things that you want to teach them right from the beginning. And whether they like it or not, you teach them some fundamentals that oftentimes get left behind when you're just learning to play either, you know, on your own or with some unguided guidance. So it's not a bad thing when you show up as a freshman and say, I've never played this game. And that's what we run into a lot. And I look at it as an opportunity. Tennis is a life sport. You don't need a whole lot of kids to play it. And learning to play at an early age, you learn it well, and you end up doing well with it. So this year we had a lot of freshmen, and even with this year's sophomores, but last year's freshmen, same thing. They came, wanted to learn how to play it, and did a great job learning that. One of my freshmen, she ended up playing doubles. She is the Rookie of the Year for the girls. She earned her letter, Kylie Ingalls. The only problem with Kylie is her mother shows up at practices and matches. I asked Jason to try to keep a handle on her. He does what he can.
We see it on the court, basketball court.
3 of my sophomores, who we will be seeing a lot more of next year. Emma Green filled in a role playing mostly doubles. You play this? Play a singles match?
Singles match.
Hmm?
I played a singles
Yeah, you play a singles match as well. Did a nice job for us. Sometimes you get, like I say, you get thrown into situations where, Mr. Nick, I've never played singles. Well, you're gonna today. Well, you didn't say that. Well, here's how it's gonna be. And sometimes trial by fire works out well. Emma Green. She gets scared when I call her name. What?
I was like, what do I do?
This young lady filled a lot of roles for us last year and this year. And whenever I asked her to do something very similar to Emma is, you know, like we had the injury with Abby McNally way through the year, so things got shuffled a little bit. This young lady always did everything with a smile and a laugh and did a really good job. Her game has improved right from the day she started playing. Heidi John Brooke. The other player that I have to deal with a lot, that she already knows. You know, we go from Algebra 2 to tennis practice, and by that time we're ready to kill each other. But no, this yeah, that's it. This young lady couldn't make up her mind last year whether she wanted to play softball or tennis. She played both. This year she ended up just doing the tennis. Did a nice job of it. She started a little slow. She had an important trip to Florida early in the season, and she took care of that. But came back and again played some roles for us that you kind of get thrown into. Sometimes it's an injury. Sometimes it's kids that have other obligations, and you end up shorthanded. And you need kids that are willing to step into roles that they may not be used to. And Macy did that often, and her game improved a lot from the beginning of the season to the end. Macy Dishon.
I can't believe you.
By the way, how did your driver's test go today? Oh, you didn't pass it?
You either, Macy. Oh yeah, boy.
Saving the best three for last, I may regret saying. One of them is most improved. She, I wouldn't say threw a fit, or I wouldn't say had a heart attack, but somewhere in between when I told her that she was going to be playing singles. I'm not sure how the reaction went, but it was mixed. And with each match, she said, I'm going to go out there and get killed. But with each match, she improved. And she ended up being the most improved, and she did a really good job every time she walked on the court. And her game improved every match, in every practice. Abby Gallagher. The other Gallagher, I refer to them oftentimes as the talkies, because if you get stuck in between them, that's my case. Did a great job playing first doubles, with Kylie. Did a really good job at that. And again, these two girls, their effort was great, but lack of experience in having to play first doubles as opposed to second doubles is, you know, you get thrown into the fire. And they responded extremely well, did a great job, and looking forward to having them back next year, because we've got a whole bunch of sophomores and some freshmen. And I think it's going to be really good. This team is going to come together and do a lot of things over the next couple of years. Sheree Gallagher. like Tyrone, this young lady gets thrown into the #1 singles. And again, it's a tough transition. Tyrone played singles last year, so his transition wasn't quite as extreme as what Emily had to do this year. Mostly last year she played doubles. Did you play some singles matches last year? One, yeah. So, and from the first match this year on, she was playing #1 singles. Did a great job. There were times when she lost 8-0, and no matter what I said to her, I wasn't going to convince her that there were parts of this match that were very well played. And you know what? If somebody told me that, I'd probably be a little skeptical too. But you learn, and it makes you that much better of a player. She also set an example of leadership, and we need that. And it's not always the case that one kid is a better leader than another. It's just that they're willing to step forward and do it. And whenever I asked anything of Emily, it got done. And she did a tremendous job this year. Most valuable player for the girls. Don't think I have to say anything else. There's one more award that I have to give, and hopefully I can keep it together. We have a manager who is rather unique. And I've been working with Jake since he showed up in my classroom, incoming freshman, to do some summer school. So he and I have been close since then. And I am not sure from day to day who the student and who the teacher is. And I mean that in a very positive and constructive way. If you see us at a tennis match, Jake will be milling around the fence with his camera, and he will take short snippets of film for me. And a lot of people go, so what good is that? Well, a lot of times when I talk to the kids in between matches or in between changeovers, there's usually 2 or 3 things that I'm kind of looking for. But with 4 matches going on and trying to watch each of our kids playing, you know, even when there's 2 sets of eyes, when Lisa did a great job helping this year as well, you get caught up, and it's hard to keep caught up. And it's hard to catch the kids when they change over and explain what you want. Or you might be watching something 2 courts down and not see it the way you want to see it. Jake would go around and take some video for me, and I would get him aside, and I'd tell him, I need to see the video on Abby. And he'd go, which Abby? And I'd say, see, Jake? And I'd say, I want to see the video on Abby Gallagher. And he would bring it up, I'd look at it. A lot of times I only need 4 or 5 second snippet, and that's all. I'm looking for something specific. What I see on his video either confirms it or not, and then I move on from there. So what might appear very minor to the observer was very important to all of us, very important to me as a coach. It's a tremendous tool. And no matter what I asked Jake to do, no matter what side of the court I wanted it from, what perspective I wanted it from, he got it for me, and he was at my side immediately saying, here you go. I can't tell you how many times he did that and did it well, but that's just part of it. What he does from day to day for all of us is he makes us smile, he makes us laugh, and he makes us think. And he does a great job at all of those. And like I say, there are times with Jake when you don't know who the teacher is. And if you're not sure, he'll tell you. But I will tell you, well, 2 quick stories. The Lee girls team ceased to exist at the beginning of the season. So we had to schedule a couple of new matches for the girls, and they were with Sumner. And we were going to go down to Sumner, and it ended up in the middle of a week where we had 2 other matches that we were traveling to. And it was a busy week. It's that time of year. Kids are busy with everything. And I think we went to Dexter one day, and Sumner was going to be in the middle, and then Holton was the next day, and it's one of those things. So Jake is in my home room, so I see him every day, and we talk. And I pulled him aside, and I said, Jake, I said, it's going to be a long day. I said, it's a girls-only match. I don't know why I said that, because I'm not sure what I was kind of implying that if he didn't want to go with a bunch of girls, that was okay. But that was a mistake. And so I said, if you don't want to go, I understand. It's not a problem. He was incredulous that we could get along without him, but that's a whole nother story, right, Jake? But I said, if you don't want to, and by the time I reiterated it, he was already like, Mr. Nick, I will be going tomorrow. It's my team, and I expect to go with them. And I said, well, Jake, thank you. I said, that's tremendous. Said, it's going to be very busy and very hectic. He said, no. He says, I got to go. They're my team. I'm going to support them. I said, tremendous. So that's just a little example of what we all see from day to day with Jake. But the best part of the story was, on the way home, we stopped at a place in Holden, Amato sandwich shop. And Jake pulls out his wallet, slaps down his debit card, and, like he'd been doing it his entire life. No problems. The woman behind the counter kind of looked to me, and I said, he's good to go. Went through everything, did a nice job of that. And even while he was doing it, he was conversing with the cashier. And, it was just another day in the park for Jake. And just another, whatever for Jake. He does things with ease. The funniest part, though, was a few minutes later, when we were all sitting around a couple of tables finishing things up. And Lisa kind of pointed to Jake. Everybody else was pretty much finished their meal, but Jake was holding court. And he was doing the talking, and every one of us was doing the listening. And it wasn't that he was trying to dominate the conversation. It wasn't that he was trying to push some aside and say what he wanted to say. It just so happened that at that point, everybody is just kind of going, wow, listen to that. And he was talking and making sense. He was carrying on more than one conversation at a time and doing it with ease, doing it with humor, and making us all enjoy just having him around. I don't mean to babble on about this, but thank you very much, Jake, for everything you do. I don't often give what's called a Coach's Award, and when I do, I think it means something. It's not something I give every year, but I give it because somebody stands out, particularly in terms of leadership, in terms of getting things done, in terms of just being a darn good person and not expecting anything back when you do something. So to my manager and to somebody that we couldn't get along without this year, Jake Whitehouse.
Hey Jake, when you have a choice between the boys team and the girls team, who would you choose?
Both.
Oh, okay, Jake, who did you choose when you had to make that choice?
I have no idea.
That's right, that happened.
You chose to go with the girl.
I kind of hinted to him that, are you going because you're with a whole bunch of girls? I'm listening that, no. But I'm not so sure about that. Thank you all for listening. It's been a very good year. A little frustrating on the boys' side, and the boys know that. We talked about it a lot, and when you play shorthanded, it makes it tough on everybody that's involved. But we got through it. We had a decent season. Both made preliminary rounds in the playoffs, which is very good, particularly with young teams. and particularly with short-handed teams. I will say, the girls, sometimes coaches, you just look at things from a different perspective occasionally. The girls had to play Guilford. Guilford is having a very good year, so we knew it was going to be a tough match. It wasn't unwinnable. But we also knew that if we beat Guilford, Lisa would be going to Madawaska the next day with the girls to play them. As it turned out, both the Guilford boys and the Guilford girls won their prelim match. They hopped in their bus that Friday morning at 6 a.m. The boys had to play a match at Van Buren. Then they went from there to Madawaska for the girls to play. They got interrupted by rain and an injury, and Guilford got back to Guilford at 2:30 a.m. the next day. So they had a tremendous run. We wouldn't have had to do that, and I wish we could have beat Guilford because they were a good benchmark. But it was a good year. Thank you all very much. Thank you to the parents. I know this is a sport that is a little different than going to the gym on a Friday night and watching. This takes some getting used to, and I appreciate all the support that we get. Thank you, Erica. Have a good evening.
I need those of you that got plaques. Come over to this
Yeah.
wall over here.